In the heart of the city, where the air was thick with spices and secrets, a young woman dreamed of more. More customers, more fame, more power. Zala was not born into wealth. She grew up in the crowded alleys of the market, where the smell of roasting maize and spicy stew filled the air. As a child, she watched her mother cook over an open fire, stirring thick soups in large clay pots. "Food is life," her mother would say. "If you can feed the people, you will never be forgotten." But after her mother passed, the stall was left to Zala, and business was slow. Every day, she sat behind her steaming pot of stew, calling out to passers-by, "Come, taste the best soup in the market." But people barely glanced her way. They went to other vendors, those with famous recipes, those whose names carried weight. Zala's hands ached from stirring, her voice grew hoarse from calling out, but her coin jar remained nearly empty. Every evening, she counted the few coins she earned, her chest tightening with frustration. "Why?" she muttered to herself. "Why does no one see me?" She tried everything, adding more spices, lowering her prices, even offering free tastes. Still, her stall remained nearly empty while others flourished. One night, after yet another day of barely making enough to eat, she sat in the dim light of her small home, staring at the few coins in her palm. "This is not life," she whispered. "This is suffering." And that was when the idea came. It was not a voice in her head, nor a dream, nor a sudden vision. It was a slow, creeping thought, slithering into her mind like a serpent in the dark. People craved what they could not resist. What if she gave them something unforgettable? She had heard the stories before, whispers of forbidden rituals, dark recipes passed down in secret, tales of those who had taken the unthinkable path and reaped great rewards. Her fingers trembled as she pushed the thought away. "No," she told herself, "I am not that kind of person." But the hunger for success, for recognition, gnawed at her more than the hunger in her belly. The next day, she did not set up her stall as usual. Instead, she wandered through the outskirts of the city, where no one paid attention to missing faces. And that night, under the cover of darkness, she prepared a stew unlike any she had made before. The scent was different, richer, heavier. It clung to the air, drawing in even those who had never noticed her stall before. The next morning, she ladled the thick, steaming broth into bowls, watching as the first customers took hesitant sips. Then, something changed. One taste, and their eyes widened. They ate faster, spoon after spoon, unable to stop. Soon, more people gathered, the aroma pulling them in like a spell. "This is the best meal in the city," a man exclaimed. "What's your secret?" Zala only smiled. "A recipe, older than time." Zala had never seen anything like it. The first day, her stall was full. By the second, the entire street knew her name. By the end of the week, people came from far beyond the city just to taste her stew. Her hands, once tired from stirring for no one, now barely stopped moving. Her coin jar, once empty, now overflowed with silver. The sound of clinking coins became music to her ears, but with success came whispers. "Have you heard of Zala?" the vendors gossiped. "She came from nothing, but now, she feeds the city." "It's unnatural," said another. "I've never tasted meat like that before." Zala ignored them. Let them wonder. Let them crave. She had become what she always wanted to be, unstoppable. But deep in the hills, far beyond the city, Keto listened. Keto was no ordinary man. A hunter, a seeker of truth, a man whose eyes had seen things others chose to ignore. He had traveled through forests where spirits whispered in the wind and walked across lands where the dead never truly rested. And now, something felt wrong. The city was thriving, but the land was starving. Missing sons, lost daughters, faces that once filled the market now absent. "Food doesn't make people disappear," Keto muttered, "unless it does." One evening, as the sky burned red with the setting sun, Keto arrived at the market. He found Zala's stall with ease. He only had to follow the scent. The line stretched far. People waited restlessly, desperate for her stew. He watched as they ate, their eyes glazing over, their bodies relaxing as if under a spell. Zala noticed him. The way he stood, arms crossed, eyes sharp. He was not like the others. He was watching. She stepped forward, her practiced smile in place. "Hunter," she greeted, "do you wish to taste the best stew in the land?" Keto said nothing. He looked at her hands, her face, her fire. Then, slowly, he stepped forward and took a bowl. The market went silent as he lifted the spoon. He stared at the thick, rich broth, at the tender meat floating in it. He inhaled deeply. Then, he poured it onto the ground. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Zala's smile faltered. "Why waste a meal, Hunter?" she asked, her voice unnaturally calm. Keto crouched, pressing his fingers into the spilled stew, rubbing it between his thumb and forefinger. He had smelled this scent before, but not in a kitchen. No, he had smelled it in places where the wind howled with the cries of the lost. He stood and looked her in the eyes. "Where do you get your meat, Zala?" A chill passed through the crowd. Zala tilted her head. "A chef never reveals her secrets." "The ancestors always do," Keto countered. The words struck like thunder. The wind shifted. The drumming, faint, distant, began. Slow, rhythmic, a warning. Zala's hands trembled, the faces around her blurred. They were looking at her differently now, suspicious, questioning. And then she heard it. A whisper. "You took our flesh. Now we take yours." She gasped and stumbled backward. The fire beneath her pot flared unnaturally, and the faces of the missing, faces she had buried, began to form in the smoke. The crowd screamed. The ground trembled beneath them. Keto didn't move. He only watched. "The ancestors are here," he said simply. Zala turned, trying to run, but the wind howled, pushing her back. The spirits of those she had fed to the fire rose from the shadows, their voices hissing, their hands reaching. "You hungered for fame," the village elder's voice boomed from the crowd, "but the ancestors hunger for justice." The drums thundered. The sky darkened. The spirits surrounded her. And then, silence. When the wind settled and the dust cleared, Zala was gone. The only thing left was her empty pot, still steaming, the scent of her stew lingering in the air. No one spoke. No one touched it. The people slowly backed away. Keto looked at the pot one last time before turning. "Not all hunger is meant to be fed," he murmured, and with that, he walked away. From that day forward, Zala's name was never spoken again. Her stall remained abandoned, her legend whispered only in warning. And sometimes, on nights when the wind carried the scent of something rich and unfamiliar, the elders would tell the young, "Beware of those who hunger for more than they deserve." Hey there, amazing viewers! If you've been enjoying our stories, don't forget to show some love. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Insight Stories. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more incredible tales. So go ahead, subscribe now, and let's keep the stories coming.